to be able to say, God, what season I'm in? Is it the season to pivot? Is the season to stand still? Like how you said, the season to reflect. Whatever that season in, I think once you really realize that, you'll be able to move. And, you know, even in that, the human experience is full of waiting. We don't want to wait. Waiting brings clarity. And I'm going to say that again. Waiting brings clarity.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Welcome back to Thoughts of the Visionary podcast.
Yes, sir.
Today, we want to shift our focus.
We shifted it, baby.
And instead of just talking about being a visionary, but to exploring something much more broader. What it means to walk through life with all the ups and downs. While keeping our eyes focused on what truly matters. We're talking about unwavering faith. That's right. Today's topic is called Unwavering Faith. Unwavering faith, even in the middle of life process. It's about recognizing that faith is not just for the moments when everything is going good. Faith is not just something when everything is going good, but especially those moments when things feel uncertain, heavy, or even out of control.
You know, we all know that life doesn't always go as planned. And whether you're pursuing big dreams, trying to get by, or feeling completely stuck, let me tell you something. Faith is something that's tested in ways we don't always expect. So today we're going to break down what it looks like to have unwavering faith in three parts. Three parts. Number one, discerning the season you're in. Number two, getting through the trials. And number three, showing the characteristics of faith that don't waver no matter how hard life gets.
Let's start with discerning the seasons that you're in. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to really understand. Something about that, it's something we all have to start with different stages of life. Sometimes we feel like it should be when life is moving fast, or we feel like if we're not achieving more, or other times we feel like we're stuck. We all question, and we all go through this path along life where we have to understand, how do we discern the seasons? And that can be very complicating. But I feel like once you understand of, I'm able to discern this season that I'm in, then I'm able to fully understand where God is placing me.
Discerning seasons. It's about understanding what season you're in. And discerning is being able to differentiate, okay, is this a season when I'm supposed to be moving in a direction? Or this is a season where I'm supposed to be still? You know, so there's this constant pressure from the world that always to be doing something. You always feel like you got to do something to hustle, to achieve. And that pressure can make us feel like we're falling behind. In reality.
Say that again.
So pretty much, and that pressure can make us feel like we're always falling behind. You know, it's this pressure from the world that you always got to be moving, you always got to be doing, you always should be striving. And you know, in reality, God might be calling us just to pause and just be. You know, to rest, to reflect, to heal. It's not easy, especially in today's society where everyone's highlight reel is on display. You know, we always, I remember, I think we covered this in the past episodes, but
episode 2.
Yeah. We're always, the highlight reel is always before us.
You're chosen.
But when it comes to discerning the season you're in, that means you're accepting that God's timing is often different than ours. I'm gonna say that one more time.
I love that.
When you're discerning the season you're in, that means you're discerning that God's timing is often different than ours.
And I think that's one of the biggest things as humans we struggle with. Because God works in the supernatural.
He sure does.
But we are in the natural. So a lot of things we think we can do in our own strength.
Ooh, talk about
and
it.
in reality, you have to tap into the supernatural with the Holy Spirit to be able to say, God, what season I'm in? Is it the season to pivot? Is the season to stand still? Like how you said, the season to reflect. Whatever that season in, I think once you really realize that, you'll be able to move. And, you know, even in that, the human experience is full of waiting. We don't want to wait. Waiting brings clarity. And I'm going to say that again. Waiting brings clarity.
Say it again.
Waiting brings clarity.
That is good, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
It is scary, right? Because even I myself sit here and it's like, God, the season that God has me in personally, I remember in prayer, God was saying, this is the season where you have to serve. He's teaching me to be a servant. So in that season, you're serving everything else, but you feel like you're behind. The waiting brings clarity, and you're understanding why you have to serve, why you have to wait. Whatever your season is, waiting also brings healing. Waiting also brings opportunity. And even in those seasons, it can be so frustrating. It can be frustrating.
You're speaking. Oh my goodness.
It can be so frustrating, and I'm sure you can attest to this. It can be frustrating. But guess what? Even in the frustrating, when the world tells us to keep going, to push forward, we have to understand that sometimes God is asking us to stop and trust his timing. Once again, like you said before, trust his timing.
You know, a lot of times we don't want to trust God's timing because we think that when God tells us to wait and we're waiting and we're supposed to trust his time, we start thinking that we're running out of time. Let's be honest. We start thinking when God tells us to wait, right? And we're in the waiting season right now, even with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, like, y'all are witnessing our waiting season right now. That's crazy in itself, but I'm gonna keep on going. When we sit back and think about it, when we're in a waiting season, we feel like we're losing time. But in reality, it's like we're not losing time. We're actually developing our character. We're working out our integrity. Do we have an integrative heart?
Ooh.
Are we really who we say we are?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Waiting, how can I say it? Waiting reveals if what you're asking for is really what you want.
Yeah.
Like, I know I asked the question, is what you're asking for, are you ready for what you're asking for? But also, let's ask another question. Is what you're waiting for what you really want? Because if you really want it, guess what? You're going to develop the patience to wait for it.
Wow.
Because we're not born with the patience, but it's in the waiting season that you're going to develop that waiting.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like I'm anointed right now, just because I've been in this. My life is.
Yes.
My life is. This is my testimony. I promise you.
Yes.
I promise you. And there's no better person to be able to speak on waiting. It's the guy right here. It's the woman right here. And so, you know, it's like that moment when you feel like you're at a standstill, but in reality, you're being prepared for what's ahead. You know, you're being prepared, and so looking back, I see that God was teaching. He when you're in the waiting season, he's teaching you patience, and he's preparing you for what's greater. Because if you don't wait for it, you're going to be prematurely for it.
Yeah.
You're going to be too premature for it, which means you're not going to have the capacity. You're not going to have the ability. You're not going to have the momentum to carry to handle what the assignment is for your life. And so it's important that we go through a waiting season, because that's where you develop your character. You're able to hone in on your skills. You're able to move at a pace where, okay, I've learned the trials, I've learned the lessons in the season I need to learn.
Yeah.
Now let's use what I've learned.
Yes.
And apply it, because it's now wisdom. There's now wisdom which you learn your waiting season. See, waiting season really stands for wisdom. Let's talk about it. It stands for wisdom. So, you know.
And I feel like that's true, because, you know, I think a lot of times, even in this moment, I feel like the biggest thing has been highlighted to me in this very moment is we want control. We want control of understanding what's next, control of understanding how should I move, how should I do this, and if it's not going this way. I think, but in the control, in that, you have to understand the control that you think you have just this grip on. Once you hit a season in your life, and let's shift it from just even waiting, right? It could be, for example, discerning season. Can you be able to understand whatever God has promised you, that I can be able to celebrate somebody in their winning season, and know that my faith would not waver?
It's like that song, I gotta say it, I'm gonna wait on you.
Like,
yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing of that moment, because it also builds humility. So whatever your season is, you have to understand that's where the faith comes in. It helps us to understand that whatever season you're in, it's not wasted time. It's growth. It's those quiet moments when we often have to be still and surrender ourselves in those seasons to say, God, whatever season this is in, I'm going to trust you, and I'm not going to waver.
So
that was a mouthful.
Yeah,
that was good.
That was good.
Ooh, I gotta take that in.
Yeah, that's something you gotta sit on.
And I feel like a part of me wants to cry, because I think this podcast episode is currently, we're dealing with a season right now where it's like we can't waver. And I feel like, and I know for a fact God is like, you really got to practice what you preach. Now, it's not saying that you want to be hypocrisy,
no,
right? But the human aspect of us deals with the doubt, deals with the fear, deals with the double-minded, and we have to know we can't stay there. But God was showing me, like, you really got to practice what you preach, because there are people watching you, and how you live your life is based on the outlook of your testimony.
Say that again.
How you live your life is based on the outlook of your testimony.
How you live your life is based on the outlook of your testimony. Wow.
We are someone's answers prayers. We are someone's answered prayer. Because the season that we're in is not even just for us, but it's really for others.
Yeah, and in the waiting, like you said, that's where the faith comes in.
That was beautiful.
And so we're now going to transition to a core value, which is a core value for this episode is patience. Patience is key. In a world that's consistently pushing us to move faster, we have to trust the process. Patience teaches us that sometimes the greatest growth happening in the waiting is in the waiting, in the stillness. The greatest growth, I'm going to say that again.
Ooh,
the greatest growth
that was good.
happens in the waiting.
Yeah.
It's not when you on the stage. It's not when you get the accolades. It's not when the crowd comes and this day and age the followers come. It's when it doesn't seem like nothing's happening. That's when you see the greatest growth. Because it's easy to seem like you're growing. But when you get in a situation where the growth needs to be applied, it's not there.
Wow, that was good. So we have a question for you, and we want you to put it in the chat. We want you to tell your experience. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone else.
Yes.
Even if you got to come back to this and take notes. Do that, because maybe this is for you. Maybe this is for your colleague. Maybe this is for someone you know that needs to hear it. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share it.
Come on now.
The question we have for you is, how do you handle seasons of waiting? Do you embrace them as a part of your process, or do you struggle with feeling like you're stuck? Let's talk about it in the chat.
Put it in the comments.
So we want to hear from you.
Come on now.
Drop it in the chat and let us know.
How do you handle seasons of waiting?
Yeah.
Come on, we all go through seasons of waiting. No matter if you're waiting for a new job, you're waiting for a husband or a wife, or you're waiting for your dream to become your reality. You're waiting for that business that you're starting, or you believing to start to build up and prosper. Doesn't matter where you are in your waiting process. We want to hear how you handle.
And if you feel stuck, be honest.
Yeah.
I think this is the point in the podcast where you have to ask yourself, and even us, what am I running from? It's time to be transparent, and it's time to be able to say, you know what, I'm not going to run no more. Because the point of this podcast is to what? Think bigger.
Yeah. And so we just hope that you all will put your comment in the comment section. Don't forget to please comment, like, subscribe, share it with your cousin, niece, nephew. Tell a pit bull, come bark at it. I don't know. Do something. But yeah.
Now let's talk about the testing of trials. No one goes through life without facing something tough. And I'm going to say it again. No one goes through something in life without facing something tough.
This one's going to get weighty.
Whatever it is, whether it's financial struggles, whether it's relationship, personal loss, or just a day-to-day grind that leaves you feeling worn out, trials is a part of the human experience.
Yes, it is.
And as they test us in these ways we never expect, we have to understand the testing of the trial can either make you or break you.
That's right. And it's not just the external challenges either. Let me tell you something. It's about to get real personal, because it's really the internal battles.
Ooh, yes.
It's the internal battles.
Yes.
The doubt, the fear, the exhaustion. Life gets heavy, and it's in those moments that our faith is really tested. It's easy to have faith when everything's going well. But what about when everything seems to be falling apart? How do we maintain faith when the trials come, when the plans go off the rail? And
I think also during those trials we start questioning everything. it's like blinkers go off, beep, 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 beep. Everything's going on one at a time, and we start to question even our own existence.
Exactly.
Am I currently living in purpose? You know, why is it happening? What is going wrong? Why does God even have me here? Even if God, are you even hearing me in this moment? But in James chapter 1 and 2 through 3, it tells us that the testing of our faith produces perseverance.
I love this verse. Oh my
and I'm
goodness.
going to say it one more time.
Come on, say it again.
James chapter 1 verse 2 through 3 tells us that the testing of our faith produces perseverance.
It's not in vain. I'm telling you, it's not in vain. Your waiting is not in vain.
Yes.
Hold on. I feel this one. Nah, because it's, let me tell you something. I know how you feel right now. I know, and I'm speaking to you right now.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. You feel like you don't belong. What's the point? That's what you're telling yourself. What's the point? I'm not believing this no more. It's 2024. It ain't never happening for me. Everybody else got it. It's no more. And we even say it's no more left out there for me. But let me tell you something. There is more than enough out there for you.
Yeah.
There is room for you to succeed. And I'm even talking to myself. Because I have these same thoughts. Why are we starting the podcast? Everybody's starting the podcast. Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm going to get real with y'all. Why are we starting a podcast? Everybody has a podcast. Our podcast is not going to see the hype. But let me tell you something. Oftentimes, the way we think gets in the way of our prosperity. It gets in the way of our success. It gets in the way of how we view ourselves. It gets in the way of what God actually wants to do through us. And I'm sorry but I really felt this. Yeah. Because I know how you feel. I know how you feel. We are testaments. Yeah. And we're still going through the trial. Yeah. And you guys are watching it. You're witnessing it. And so I just felt the need to really reach out and extend the hand to you and let you know you're not alone. And that the waiting that you're going through is producing something in you, even if you don't see nothing happening in you. Yes. It's producing something.
Yes. And it's in that fire. Because what I'm reminding of in this moment of the boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they was in the fire, but they didn't come out like the fire. And I think sometimes we want to run away from the fire. The life of trials of life is really the fire, right? And we all know the fire burns. But I feel like when we're in the fire, it's burning away the old mentality. It's burning away the things that we thought we used to have to carry. It's burning away just the ideology of this character we have put on ourselves. This false doctrine that we feel that we have to feel like we have to yield in. In reality, God is like, I'm not there. How it talks about the song, talks about the refiner. He's going to refine you. And in these seasons, you have to know the fire is to refine you. The fire is to shape you. So when sometimes we pray and say like, God, get me out of this situation. But what if that situation is to refine you?
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
You know, so it's like, I think for me, my biggest thing now is like, God, instead of getting me out of all these situations, how that was my old mindset, God, help me to keep my eyes on you. So whatever this season is, even if I'm in testing trials, guess what? I'm going to keep my eyes on you so my faith don't have to waver. It's not saying that I don't experience as a human doubt or feel like all these characteristics of emotion rise up. But I have to know I can't stay there. I gotta shake this thing off of me. I gotta even in the fire, I gotta let these old ways burn off of me. I gotta walk in this knowing that when I come out of it, I ain't gonna look like what I went through.
The girl's on fire. Oh my goodness.
Don't let me start talking. Yeah. I ain't gonna look like I went through it. And I wanna cry, but like,
come on now.
When you realize that the season you're in is not to harm you, you really realize how blessed you are.
Whew. It's to refine you.
Yeah. Build your character.
It's to refine you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. This stuff, you ain't got to go take a course on none of that. This all happens for free. So the stuff that you searching for, you paying money for.
Yeah.
Think about you paying money for. God gives it to you in the waiting. So when people look at you, they're gonna be like, wait a minute. Who is that? Like they said, who was that? When they saw them, what they say? Who was that? Because that's who's behind him. It was a fourth man in the fire. So when they look at you, they ain't looking at you. They're looking at the refiner who refined you.
And that was like an indication that you know that God is walking with you.
Come on now.
So even when you think this thing is going to take you out, this season is going to take you out, whatever that season may be, you may be struggling financially. You may feel like this relationship, you thought this was your everything and it didn't work out. Or maybe you're in a relationship and it's like, I'm not seeing it. Whether you're in a marriage and you're like, God, it's not looking like what it is, or dating someone and you feel like it's not progressing, whatever it may be. It may be personal development. It may be just even employment on your job or starting a business. I think in those seasons, you really see the character of God, and it really shows you that, once again, I'm not forgotten. I just have to know I'm in a different season of my life, and I gotta say, okay, God, what are you saying in this season? How do I need to show up?
This is good, man. I'm enjoying this. I think it's important to acknowledge how emotionally draining trials can be as well. We all have those moments where it feels like too much, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. But those are the moments where I'm gonna say a word that you all may not like: resilience kicks in.
You're right. It says a lot of people don't realize that resilience honestly builds them. And it doesn't mean that you never will struggle.
Right.
But it means that even in the struggle, you keep going. You keep understanding that you may get knocked down, but you have to get back up.
That's right.
That's the heart of unwavering faith. Knowing that no matter the tough trials that you may be in, God is with you through it.
Amen.
And honestly, I did a study, and in this study, it says a 2019 study found that around 42% of people struggling with maintaining belief during difficult seasons of their life. But also, that's a huge percentage, because it also shows that even the doubt and the discouragements are common in the human experience. But faith gives us the tools to keep going even when times feel overwhelming.
Wow. So one of the core values that we're going to discuss is resilience. Resilience is one of the most important values to hold on to. It's not about never feeling the pain or doubt, but it's about choosing to keep moving forward, even when it feels like life is pushing you backward.
Yeah.
And so we're going to dive into our second engagement question. And our second engagement question states, what keeps you going through life's toughest moments? When you feel like giving up, What helps you to get back on your feet? We love to hear back from you, please.
Yeah.
So, once again, this is a moment where you can engage. Type your question. I know we have 2 engagement questions, but listen, what keeps you going? What keeps you going? Is it your family? Is it your drive to want to be successful? Is it because the pain that you experience in life? Is it because the loss you experience? What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated, even when you face resistance in life?
That was good. That was really good. So we're excited to hear your feedback. So drop it in the chat. So now we're going to dive into our third part, and we're going to wrap it up because we really want to hear from you in the chat. So what does unwavering faith mean? We're diving into the characteristics of unwavering faith. What does unwavering faith really looks like? It's more than just saying you believe, or it's this belief that you're living in, or even living it to a certain degree where it works for me in this area, but it doesn't work for me in this other area. We have to know it's trusting God even when it's confusing, even when it's painful. God's plan is still unfolding for your life. God's plan is still unfolding for your life.
Come on now.
So we have to understand unwavering faith isn't perfect faith. It's faith that holds on even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to, Kevin, I gotta pivot back to this moment, what you just said.
Yeah.
You just said this most important part that I feel is like, oh my gosh, it connected with.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it again. Unwavering faith isn't perfect faith. That part. What they say? That part. Yo, like, oh my goodness. That was that right there took me, boy.
Because we think that in life that we gotta have this perfect type of, like, what is perfect faith? Like honestly, like, we're not human.
Come on, man.
But once again, it talks about how Jesus was basically saying, if you have faith as what? A mustard seed. How tiny is a mustard seed? Like this
like tiny. A dot, pretty much.
It talks about how that mountain should move.
Come on, man.
So, yeah, like, there's no such thing as perfect faith.
I wish I'd have known that early on. I really wish.
You just got to believe.
I that is one of the things that I have struggled with.
Me too.
I've always thought that I had to be perfect in my faith journey, and then also too when I messed up, it was like the whole world fell apart, and I could not get back to that place. But the Bible says, "What a righteous man falls 7 times and gets up." Not a perfect man, a righteous man.
Yeah.
So man, that right, I had to caveat that point. And there are so many different key characteristics of unwavering faith. First, there's trust. Trusting that God is in control.
Oh, I love that.
Even when the situation doesn't make no sense. Let's make it however you can connect to that point. Just know that the first characteristic of unwavering faith is trust. The second characteristic that we're going to talk about is endurance, the ability to keep going even when you're exhausted. Oh my goodness. And as the third one, which we highlight in our podcast as much as possible, the third one we're going to talk about is obedience. Staying faithful to what God has called you to do, even when it's easier to quit. Oh, I can get up and run right now because I feel so passionate about unwavering faith. And let me tell you something, the ones who get the reward are the ones that don't quit.
Yeah.
The ones that when nothing seems to be happening and you're still doing, when no one shows up and you just keep on God. You said to do this, I'm gonna do it, even when no one shows up.
Yeah.
It's in those moments that we're tested and tried and refined. And finally, the last one is hope. The belief that what's coming is greater than what you're facing right now.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to remember that unwavering faith doesn't mean that doubt won't be there. Fears won't be there. It means that you should hold on. Even in the face of those doubts, even understanding, it means you have to trust God that his plan is bigger than the pain of the present moment. Whew. His plan is bigger than the pain of this present moment. Short testimony, I feel like this season that I'm in, God have me in this moment of, I need you to pause, I need you to reflect, and I need you to refocus. And I think in those moments, some of the biggest things I feared about myself, God has me tackling it. And even this podcast, sometimes it's a current journey of like, oh my gosh, you got to get over your social anxiety. You got to get over just being in front of the camera sometimes, or just feeling as if how you look. But every time I come up here, that's me looking fear in the face. That's me facing it and saying, God, for one, you said in your word, you did not give me a spirit of fear. You gave me what? It says, for God did not give me a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. So that's the indication that, God, you gave me one power. God, you gave me love because you are love. And you also declared over me that I have a sound mind, to discern. Meaning that I can, in this, my mind is at peace. So what I'm learning is, even if you're fearful in this season of not knowing what's next, do it anyway. Trust him anyway. Show up anyway.
Speak.
And continue to persevere, because what's on the other side, it goes back to understanding that his plan is bigger than the pain.
It's bigger. And so we have another scientific insight for you. Around 60% of people report experiencing deep moments of doubt in their faith journey. But those who continue to engage in practices like prayer, journaling, and community often come out stronger on the other side. Faith isn't about never questioning. It's about holding on through the questions. I'm going to say it again. Faith is not about questioning. It's about holding on. Even when you have questions.
Yeah.
Even when you have doubts.
Yeah.
Even when you have fears. Even when you don't know what's going to happen next, you still choose. You still choose. You still make a decision.
And we have to understand too that hope is what keeps us moving forward. Hope is what keeps us moving forward. It allows us to look beyond the challenges. It allows us to look beyond the challenge of life even as well, of today, and trust that there is something better on the other side. And that goes back to God's plan. So we have to know that hope fuels the unwavering faith. Hope fuels the unwavering faith. Whether you're in a journey right now, whether the season is waiting, whether the season is facing trials, whether the season is understanding, I have to hold on to my faith. I have to anchor myself in this right now. Know that you're not alone. We are standing here with you as a testament to say that is our current season. God, we are anchored in you, and our faith is not going to be shakeable. We're going to be anchored. And you have to know, we all go through these seasons where it feels like it's hard, but the faith gives us the strength to keep going.
Come on now.
Faith gives us the strength to keep going.
Say it one more time.
Faith gives you the strength to keep going.
Come on now.
It's a process, but the process helps to shape us into where we're meant to be.
That was amazing. Faith gives us the fuel to keep going. Faith, it gives us the fuel. Faith is the fuel to the journey, man. Faith is the fuel. And so as we wrap up today's episode, we encourage you to reflect on where you are right now. Let's take a moment. Reflect. Examine where you are in this journey, as we journey to become true visionaries. Where is your faith? Where are you at in this journey? Are you believing? Are you doubting? Are you fearing? Are you trusting but not trusting? Are you in between? Where are you? Because in order to move forward, you got to know where you are. You can't move forward until you discover where you are.
Yes.
And so what are you holding on to faith for? What are you believing for? And how can you strengthen that faith in the middle of life's process?
And I want to say this before we exit out, whatever that process looks like, this is the season, no matter what, where you got to be resilient.
Come on now.
You got to be resilient. Whatever category you fit in the subjects that we talked about today, you got to persevere. You got to be resilient. The key to all this, I remember when we was planning this out, that God literally spoke to me the name of this episode, and he said Unwavering Faith. And unwavering is basically meaning that you're not moved. You're not swaying from side to side. Whatever that moment you're in right now, my prayer for you is to really ask God, help me to keep my eyes on you. Help me not to focus on what's next. Because I'm going to say this, sometimes focusing on the next can mentally drain you. A lot of us in this life, and especially this world right now we're living in, the mental battles has heightened because we're always pushing to the next. But I urge you to just allow yourself to be still and allow yourself to ask, like how he was saying, where am I? But before you take this move, invite God in. Because it's better to understand where I'm going than keep being in the same season, in the same cycle, and you're not getting nowhere. Be resilient and know you're not alone. Being a visionary is constantly thinking bigger than what you're currently in right now. You will have some winning seasons, and you will have some seasons where it don't make no sense. But it's in those moments you realize, once again, it shapes your character.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave them with this quote. In the waiting is where winners are born.
Oh, I love that. Say it again.
In the waiting is where winners are born.
Wow, that's beautiful. So feel free to like and subscribe.
Come on now.
We can't wait to hear from you in the chat. Answer those engagement questions. Send some fires in the chat. Send this out because we want to hear from you. Send it to your coworkers. Send it to your nosy neighbor.
Everybody, come on.
Send it.
Spread the word.
But most importantly, thank you for keep rocking with us. Because at the end of the day, we are all visionaries striving to think bigger.
That's right.
Bye.
We love you all. Keep tuning in and listen. We out. Walk.